Now, the survey also found that 50% of women have zero faith in government.
So sad.
That's very sad. And 36% have very little. So while they still have some, they have very little. Do you think this is a fair reflection of what's going on in the country at the moment?
I think, some positive things about our government. We have some of the highest female representation in the world. We definitely have committees and executive committees and all areas of government working to improve things for women's rights. So there's definitely not inaction on government's behalf. There's some disappointing areas of government. The ministry it was formerly Women, Children, People with Disabilities,
right.
And now it's the Ministry of Women. Both have been fairly disappointing in terms of actual impact. I think they're also entrusted with a lot of things, and they're given the smallest budget out of any government department.
Wow.
So they're ill-equipped to succeed at the things we really need them to succeed in. So whether they're bad because they're bad or they're bad because they can't be any better is another debate. I think, at the start of also 1994 and up until about 2008, there was a huge amount of legislation passed in women's favor. They felt like there was action on women's rights, and we got the Domestic Violence Act, we got Maintenance Act, we got Sexual Offences Act, and now we sort of have all those laws, and there's less of that momentum to what do we need next. One of the laws I think we need next is definitely a law supporting the rights of sex workers and making sure that they're able to access healthcare and protection. I know there's pushes from various areas, and I think when you see movement for women's rights, it's easier to have faith that they're acting in your interest, whereas at the moment it can feel very party political watching from the outside. I'm not sure whether it really is, but that is the perception that many people are getting.
Now, you mentioned rights for sex workers. What else do you think a government needs to step in and do more of when it comes to women's rights?
Budget. They need to give money. So we have a lot of structures that could be amazing. We have last year they founded the National Council for Gender-Based Violence. It was supposed to have a budget. It's just simply disappeared off of the map. We don't have enough budget for shelters, so when women leave violent relationships, they often can't find anywhere to go, particularly if they have male children, because many shelters don't accommodate women with adult male children or young males. So whilst we have all of these rights in theory, what we need to make them practical and realistic is money, and government needs to start listening to the NGOs that are working to make sure that money is allocated appropriately. And then just generally, I think one of the biggest things that makes any woman in South Africa feel like government doesn't care is this constant and perpetual sense of insecurity. Women, every day when I normally take the train to work, every single day I'm harassed in the street, every single day. And there's a feeling that men can get away with that harassment because there is a sense of impunity. So for me, if government made a bigger effort to do sort of public awareness campaigns about what are women's rights and why can't we do this stuff, what areas are unsafe and how could we make them safer, what could make my life safer, and they listen to the voices of women in hearing from that, then I think we'd feel a bit more keen and that they were doing something for us, whereas now it's hard to see that.
It's interesting you bring that up. There was that viral video of the women walking in the streets of New York who was harassed over 100 times. And it was interesting when I was reading the comments on that video, a lot of men said they didn't realize that this happens to women on a day-to-day basis. So it is really just kind of getting that information out there.
And also it's just so normalized. So many times, I just think in the last year, the amount of harassment that I've had, so many times you're expected to take it as a compliment. Someone feels like they're commenting on a particular part of your body or your face or how you're walking, and they think that they're complimenting you, or they've allowed themselves to think that they're complimenting you. But really, there's a really nice, easy way to give a compliment. Wow, you look nice today, and then keep walking. Not, let's talk about this part of your lips, or let's talk about, there's a difference. So for men to be unaware, I find it hard to believe, but I also think that there's a need to talk about how do we talk to women, how do we talk to men, what are the power dynamics there that needs to be a public thing.
Is that a societal problem?
Definitely. I mean, we have a massive rape culture in South Africa, and rape culture doesn't necessarily mean that all men are rapists. I definitely don't think that. What rape culture is that it's basically a social system that allows for rape to happen and that normalizes violence against women from the bottom. So when you think about someone's at a bra and they tell this really sexist joke, and it might not be a violent joke at all, but it says that women have a different place in society from men. And then you get rape and sexual violence and very extreme forms of violence against women at this end. But these are all part of a system, because if we're accepting that women are allowed to be degraded at our social situations in a jokey way, then what else are we going to slowly begin to accept? So I think that the social problem needs to target all the different interventions there, what's happening in our homes, what's happening in our schools, what's happening at the Braai, what's happening in Parliament, in government, what's happening on the streets. So yeah, big range of issues to deal with.
It seems like so much to deal with, and I can't even think of where to start.
Yeah, I mean, it is daunting, and it's obviously daunting because the scale of the problem is so big. I think our stats last year, it's over 60,000 incidents of sexual offences were related. Now, it's not only women, because we really have a high level of violence against children as well.
Yeah.
But so you feel like this problem is so massively overwhelming, but there are people working every single day to target prevention, to target what happens afterwards, to target the government advocacy that needs to happen. So there are days when you just want to sit down and have a rest and have a cry about it, which is completely normal. But when you do have those rest days, there are definitely people who are carrying on working. So I think that helps, you feel like you're part of a society, that you're not doing this on your own, trying to fight my worst word is the scourge, but you're not trying to fight this issue on your own. So.
Yeah.